Welcome everybody to this training video. My name is Scott McMillan, project lead for the IHSS Benchmark Dashboard. In this short video, we are going to focus on helping you to prepare and compile your facility data. As we discussed in the previous video that showed you how to register, by registering, you will then get to this page here where you can start to upload your data. The first step is related to your facility data. And the sub-step, step 1A, is all about you collecting that data and putting it into the template so that you can then be ready to upload it in the subsequent step or sub-step 1B. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click on this link here and download the actual template that you're going to use to fill in and provide your facility data. And it is simply an Excel spreadsheet. So when you click the link, you're going to want to save it somewhere where it's easily accessible to you and others in your organization that might be working on this project for you. And you're going to start to fill it out. Each year will have a different facility data template that you would fill out. So I've already done that. I've already downloaded it, and I have a copy of it that we can take a look at. And it looks like this. As I mentioned, it's simply an Excel spreadsheet. You'll notice if you scroll to the right that there's a few additional columns. There are 34 columns in total in this document. We ask that you provide as much of these 34 data sets or data fields as possible. Obviously, the more information that everyone is able to provide, the more benchmarks and rates that we're able to create that's going to allow all of us to be able to do much more comparisons. That said, I will point out that the yellow columns are required columns. If you are going to participate and upload data, you do have to fill these ones out. And the yellow also indicates there are pre-built drop-down lists that you can use to make an appropriate selection. For the year that you will enter will be the year of the previous calendar year that represents the data that you're inputting. So we're in 2026 right now. I would fill this out for 2025 and even 2024 because the IHSS is currently accepting data for 2024 and 2025. That said, if you're going to do both years, you will have to save two different documents. You can only have one document per year. For the rows themselves, each row in this document represents one of your facilities that you will be providing incident data for. So it doesn't matter whether you have one facility, if you're responsible for two facilities, or you work for a large health network that has 200 facilities. You can put all of them on the same document for the same year, which is great, very convenient. You do not have to fill out one of these separately for every one of your facilities. I will point out as well in column B here, the healthcare facility name. It's highly recommended that you use the exact same label that represents the corresponding facility in your incident data that you will be uploading in step 2. And that's the data that you will be likely providing by pulling out of your incident reporting system, because this facility data document will link and connect to your incident data, and it will connect based off of the year and the facility name. It's how we would know, for example, that your facility had X number of assaults and that facility has X number of beds. Then we can create a rate of assaults per bed that can be used for comparison. But the only way that we can know how many beds belong to which facility and how many assaults is to connect it on the facility name. So again, very important that you keep the labels exactly the same across both data sets. I'm just going to highlight a few other sort of groupings with some of this data. If you're not sure what's being asked of you or what to put in here, you can refer to the glossary tab here. The IHSS has done a great job of listing every one of these 34 data fields and then providing you detailed definition and in many cases examples that you can use to help determine how best to enter information into there, or what the options within a drop-down list, for example, how they differ from one another. Some of the information that you will have to collect and enter in yourself is related to the size of the facility as measured in beds. So, for example, these 5 columns or data fields all relate to beds, how many beds that you have. Starting with the total number of inpatient beds for the facility, and then getting a little bit more specific as you move to the right. Similarly, these 2 columns pertain to the size, the physical size of the facility. One is measured in square feet, which refers to the total interior space, and the other one refers to the overall size of your entire campus, your property size, which is measured in acres. Then we have some data fields that speak to volumes, population, like the amount of patients that are coming to the facility. It allows us to create a rate that is very similar to a crime rate. Crime rates that we're all familiar with takes the total number of crimes and then it divides it by the population size and then multiplies that by a particular denominator. In a lot of cases, it might be per 100,000 population. That rate is what allows cities to compare to one another far more accurately than just comparing the actual numbers of crimes, because it's not taking into consideration the population. So the columns starting in column O to T are all related to patient volumes. Inpatient days, column P through T, starting with total inpatient days, then outpatient visits, ED visits, and then more specifically, and only where applicable, if your emergency department has a dedicated behavioral health area and pediatric area, then that would be filled in for columns S and T. The next several columns is information that's related to your security program, particularly around staffing. And all of these are measured on total annual scheduled or budgeted hours. So it does not include overtime hours. And it should be specific to the facility, which means you would include all staffing levels, all positions, as long as they are dedicated in performing their full duties at that facility. And again, starting on the left-hand side is the highest level, and then it just starts to get a little bit more specific as you move to the right. And I won't go through all of these, but again, if you're unsure, I highly encourage you to look at the glossary tab for further definitions. The key thing is it's annual hours, and as an example of that, most simply, one officer at a facility that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year is simply 24 hours times 365. If you have 2 officers a day, it would be 2 times 24 times 365, and then so forth and so forth. That's how the math would work. That's how it's determined. You have another drop-down list here, which is your staffing model, again, for that particular facility. And that gives you options, for example, as a contracted staff only, proprietary only, off-duty law enforcement, accredited law enforcement. So there's different options that you can choose that best represents how your overall staffing model is for that particular facility. And then the last 4 simply pertain to different training certifications that your staff have at that facility provided by the IHSS. In particular, the basic, advanced, supervisor, and then those that have their CHPA. So that, folks, is a very high-level overview of the template. Again, you fill this out. Each year, you'll fill it out separately. A lot of this information doesn't change from one year to the next. So while it might seem like quite a bit of information and it might take you a little bit longer in year 1, the good news is every year thereafter, a lot of this information is not going to change. So it'll be much, much easier from each year moving forward. So that's it for this video. I hope it was helpful. Thank you very much for participating. And if you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to the IHSS. We are happy to help and happy to provide any further assistance, including one on one sessions if that's required as well. So, thank you very much, folks, and good luck.